Yeah, so apparently the excuse he gave was that the dog backed onto him.
Of course, that's always the excuse they give.
A likely story. It doesn't
But
explain the
did he
butter,
back
though, does it?
away?
He could have
And
backed
he didn't
away,
back away.
but he did not.
So
And I don't know how he
I
applied the
don't know.
butter.
Oh, it's probably just my mom listening.
Hello, Mrs. Erickson.
Hi, Mom, if you're listening. Oh, let me just get my little wrestler.
Oh, that's cool. You go ahead. If anyone is currently watching, thanks for joining. We're just prepping for the... You right?
I'm good. I'm good.
I haven't done the window. I haven't done the frame.
Uh-oh.
So I'm just going to do that real quick like. Also, I haven't done
Who's
what we're
with
talking
us?
about. I haven't named the episode.
It's a surprise right to the last minute.
The very last
I like
minute.
it.
I don't know if this will change anything.
Yes. We got one follower. We got a new subscriber.
We do. What, on here?
Yeah.
Aw.
And on our YouTube.
Oh,
I'm
on
not
our
sure if
YouTube.
they're going to tune in today. But they reached out to me via Facebook Messenger.
No way.
And just asked me if my podcast was on Spotify. And I said it is. I go, which one are you referring to? And he says he was looking up The Cave. And I really like comic talk. Like, I'm looking for a comic talk podcast. And he goes, your last episode was X-Men 97. I said, well, if you like comics, check this out. It's every week on Twitch. So he's like, yep, I'm in. Subscribe here, subscribe there. I'm like, all right. I got one, Dave.
Woo!
One at a time.
Nice. Nice. Oh,
Yeah, that was cool.
did you see the email that I'm not going to go
Not
into
yet.
detail about?
No, not yet.
Huh?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I haven't seen it yet. The one that you just sent me, right?
Yeah.
This afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gone full screen. It's not supposed to do that. Bear with me. Sorry, I'm literally doing this thing. I should have done it already. I also have to turn my washing machine off.
I can't hear it.
You can't. It's really loud.
No?
I also can't spell top 10, it seems.
That's pretty cool.
No. Come on. Right. Anyone... Oh, hello. We've got Marvel Man and Yansum. How's it going, dudes? You alright?
Hello, gentlemen. Yansum, Marvel Man, thank you for joining.
Can you see what we're talking about tonight, dudes?
Marvel Man will probably be happy with today's topic.
I think so. I
Yansum
hope
as
so.
well, but when your tag is Marvel Man, you'll probably be happy for what we're talking about today. Who wouldn't be? If you don't like what we're talking about today, get out of here.
What are you doing here?
Right?
Okay. It will become apparent momentarily. I'm just exporting it. Busy day. Sort of a clue. Accidental. Oh shit, which window is it? Cancel. Oh, sorry. I'll be right with us.
That's okay. This is the rough cuts. You guys are with us right before the show begins.
These
Enjoy.
are the wonderful
Thank you
bonus
for hanging
bits
out with us.
that people get.
Well, while we're waiting, Yansum and Marvel Man, what have you guys been reading recently? Your most recent read? What is it? This microphone's a little too angled. Hello, Omega Bread. There he is. We are doing well. We're waiting for you to begin.
Honest.
And Mr. BC.
I think BC
And
and
the crew's here.
I think BC and Trunks will probably be a bit late or not at all because our time difference is still catching up.
Ah, I see. I see. Fair enough. So no Boom this week. Can't do
No
it.
Scrubs-a-Boom. Marvel 1996 is coming. Whoa!
What's happening?
Marvel Man is reading the whole lot from the year from 1996. Marvel Man. He's reading all of 1996's Marvel by the looks of it.
Oh wow! Boom! He's here. You lost the bet, Dave.
Book.
I said
I
BC
lost the
Scrubs
bet.
will come through.
I said he was going to let us down. I never said that.
Never does.
2 volumes of Guide Guys.
Aha.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Pamphlet about the dangers of syphilis. I mean, did that fall into your lap, Bread, or were you seeking that pamphlet out? Because I have my suspicions. Okay.
Just a regular visit to the doctor's office, Brett? For a friend.
He's got his own special seat in a special airtight cubicle. I need to just grab 2 things and then I'm ready to go. But I've just got to shut down some shit as well because I've literally got InDesign open and all sorts of other stuff open.
3 hours sleep, but I'm here. Aw. God bless you, BC
dude.
Scrubs. Get some rest.
The sleep is more important than the Omniverse. It isn't. This is the test.
We appreciate it. That's very nice.
What am I missing?
It must be very quiet right now if it's really early in the morning in Australia. What's the time there? I know it's 14 hours, but I'm not good at math. 1 second, gentlemen. I just gotta answer a text from the wife.
Can you see the new screen? The new frame? Is it showing up?
The new screen?
The new frame?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's there. It is all there. Why? What's wrong?
Huh? Just want to make
No,
sure
it all looks good. Can't miss the fun live in the chat. 7 a.m. That's not too bad. That's when I start my day. Or, yeah, work. I start work at 7.
I think that's it. I went to look for one of these in omnibus format. And
what's that?
One of the stories I was going to talk about, and I've sold the omnibus with it in.
Oh no! Really?
Yeah, I had to.
You didn't realize you did?
No,
I got you.
I didn't want to sell it.
Is it one is it the omnibus I'm thinking of in my head?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm saying no like I know, but I don't think it is, no. Okay. I don't think so.
Would you ever part ways with that omnibus?
No. Not unless I act like I'd just have to move out.
If it's the one I'm thinking of.
If it's the one that I think you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. All right.
The only issue I have with mine is that it a couple of pages fell out. Hello?
Did it? Really?
Yeah, I pieced them back together and kind of glued them together in a way where it's still readable, but it bothers me because I know like the part where it's at. But yeah, that one's a keeper. I would probably rebuy it if I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones that some of them you can kind of take a chance on. Let's see if I can. Oh no, don't do that. How do I undo what I just did? I don't know.
If we're talking about the same,
if we're talking about the same one, which I think we are. I've just got to resize your screen because I just moved. Oh, for fuck's sake! It's all going wrong. Bear with me. No, it's not letting me get to your screen, and it won't let me undo it.
I might.
Right, why would it let me? No. All right, hang on. Oh, for fuck's sake! Thanks for joining us, Scrubs, and going up especially early just to watch me fuck all this up. Oh, just in case your kids are watching. Thanks for watching us balls all this up.
Yeah, hey, while we're here in the chats, feel free to just chat away and tell us what's going on with what you guys are doing.
What is that it's doing? Yes.
It's a great opportunity for all of us to catch up here.
No.
BC, what are you reading? Omega, what are you reading? I've been reading a lot of Spider-Man in the 80s lately, obviously, to prepare for today's discussion.
Kind of had
which
to,
is always
really.
a pleasure. Yeah. Not that it was a big gap in my reading, but it was fun to revisit and fill in some gaps that either I hadn't read before or about. And before we begin the show, while our live on Twitch are here, we're gonna have a guest. We're gonna have a guest next week. Not live, but it's gonna be an interview with a Spider-Man creator from the 80s. Ooh, who could it be? Who could it be? Guess who it is? Guess who it is? I'm not gonna give it away. But yeah, it's cool. Stanley, I wish. Yeah.
I really want chocolate.
Yes, it's exciting. I'm excited to have the chat and for you guys to enjoy, especially when there's an episode that goes hand in hand together, back to back, right? We stay in the spirit of Spidey. It's not JMD, but he will be back because we've got a pretty good, what's the word? Correspondence with each other. So that won't be a problem. Mega bread.
Yeah, I can do swear words. Thanks, Krabs.
I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to let you guys guess.
Oh, hang on, let me click off.
But it will be, I promise it will be good. No, I shouldn't promise that. But I
think you can
promise
safely
that
promise
because I know that the guest is a very generous guest with sharing info. That I know. So it won't be because of me. It'll be because the guest is cool. We're going to drop the boom. I'm not giving anything away. It's creator. Could be an artist. Could be a writer. Could be an editor. Could be an inker. We know it's Dan Slott. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I have actually a pretty good episode of Dan Slott at Fan Expo on the Cave of Solitude, but I had to record those surreptitiously, as they say. But it was a pretty good chat because it wasn't a ton of people in the room. So yeah, it was a good one. It's in the archives of the Cave of Solitude. Could be a colorist. It could be. Colloquial name for syphilis. Hey Dave, did you know that Roger Stern is also a colloquial name for syphilis in certain parts of Islington?
I wonder who came up with that little factoid.
Colorist. Man. I do plan on actually getting a colorist in the near future, believe it or not, for the show. Because I gotta say, colorist is one of those underappreciated aspects of the medium. And especially when you read a lot after a while, you see people really have their preferences of eras where they change the coloring of a book. And I know some people really like the 4 color and then the digital era, and I know people have their preferences. So when you realize what the colorists actually, how they create the mood of the whole scene, if you look at the page a little different. All right.
Okay, sorry about all that.
I see you on my Twitch screen. I don't see you on my screen on Skype.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. It's frozen. That's really stupid.
What do you want to do?
I'll just look at you on my Twitch screen. I'm just going to be a little bit behind.
That's okay. So you can't see whatever faces I pull.
No. So I got to really listen well and make sure I don't interrupt you.
But you can hear me, though, right?
Man,
Are you only hearing me on Twitch?
I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
That is weird.
That's ridiculous. Okay.
It's up to you. We can redo the call if you want to dial back in.
Will we still be live on Skype? Or will we still be live on Twitch?
And then I'll put you up on the screen. It just takes a couple of minutes. What do people want to do? Are people happy for us just to sort this out real quick? Sorry, every week we seem to be having technical problems lately. Hopefully that will change because when we switch out from Skype, it should be all right.
So I would just pick up and
you sure
get you back into the screen. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna hang up and then we'll do it. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
I will remain here. Hello. So what was everyone reading? What else was everyone reading? Wow, that is loud. I don't know if you can hear that, but that is really loud. All right, that scared the crap out of me. And it's put you right back where you need to be. It didn't forget.
We see each other. You're clear now.
Can you see me?
You're clear. I can see you. It's perfect.
Okay, we're good.
All right. We're going to do it. Drop the boom.
I think we should. I'm boiling. Right. No, I'm not.
All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1, and... boom. Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your Omniverse Comics Guide guys. I am Eric. That's my pal Dave. Dave, how are you?
Backstreet's back. All right.
I love never knowing what you're going to say when we start this. It's the best.
I never know what I'm going to say.
I love it. Everybody who's been hanging out with us on the Twitch, seeing us prepare and go through all the kinks of technical difficulties, we appreciate it. BC Scrubs, Yansum, Marvel Man, Omega Bread, of course. Who else is here that I'm forgetting? Is that everybody for now? My mom, possibly. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, watching Dave's wonderfully edited videos, so professionally done, hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button. Bing! And then if you're on your phone listening to Spotify or Apple, iPod, iTunes, whatever they call it, subscribe there too. And give us a comment. If there's something that you like about the show or something that you disagree with, feel free to comment. Let us know what you're thinking. And of course, omniversecomics.guide. omniversecomics.guide for the reading orders, all the podcasts, creator interviews, collector item specials, your one-stop shop for everything to help you along your way reading comics.
Woohoo!
Dave.
Hello.
Are you excited to talk about Spider-Man this week?
My spider sense is indeed tingling. I've had to open my flies.
This is a pretty fun topic to go into for guys that I think have read as much Spider-Man as we have.
Yeah.
This is a pretty... When you mentioned it to me, I was like, was it this topic? Might have been this topic. No, it was the battles. Yeah. The fight scenes, those come to me pretty easy because every comic book has a fight scene. But when you mentioned, I think, Spider-Man in the 80s, quickly, there were so many books I was excited to reread.
There's a lot to choose from, isn't there? There's so much to choose from. And even though, even though I grew up in the 80s, it was hard for me to access American comics. I just got reprints for the most part. And for you, I mean, you probably started when did you start reading Spider-Man?
It was like
90s?
bits and bytes. It would have been the 90s because I couldn't read in the 80s. It was just looking at the pictures.
But despite that, we both ended up really loving 80s Spider-Man. So as soon as that topic came up, we were both really like, what we're going to do, what we're going to include this time around. Like, this is just such a great era to go back to.
Yeah, it really is. Where do you think it ranks amongst the decades of Spider-Man stories? Because now we're at how many? I'm not sure. 60 years now?
Must be.
of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Close
60,
to.
62,
Yeah.
63 years, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, the character's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Thousands of comics and spin-offs and movies and cartoons, you name it. Where does this lie amongst that, the whole tapestry of Spider-Man stories for you?
It's funny because when you think about that at the time, you think like Spider-Man had been around a long time by the 80s. And it's like, in the grand scheme of things now, it's, there's been so much since, like more since, way more.
Right. Right.
But somehow I think the 80s is a really character defining decade for Spider-Man. There's some really big events, really big changes to the character. He left the decade a very, very different Spider-Man to the one we had at the beginning. And I think that in terms of character progression, which is what storytelling should be about, it was just such a strong era for Spider-Man. Like it's a defining 10 years, and I think like there are some big moments in other decades, and obviously like 60s is pretty key or he wouldn't exist. And we had the Civil War era and everything, but that has its ups and downs too. But the 80s, for some reason, like even if you read not a great Spider-Man comic, there's something still really fun about it.
I think, yeah, you nailed it on the head. Even if it feels a little hokey Saturday morning cartoonish, it feels right.
Yeah.
There's something about it that
it's got enough cheese, the right amount of cheese,
Yeah.
You think
I was thinking about it. I was just thinking about the decade, which I feel for me is one of my favorite decades of comics. But for this character specifically, I have a real soft spot for it.
Yeah.
Some of the writers who came onto it, namely Roger Stern, is one noted for having that sort of definitive run on the book in the 80s. Right? He did a lot of, but I found that it was very much true to the character. He didn't change things in a way where it's like his whole world was completely upside down in order for us to do what we really want to do. It was, here's the character I've been given, and I'm just going to stick to him being who he is and be very referential to what he's lived. Even if I introduce something new, it was never to like redefine him. It was just, now you take the story as he passes it to the next group of writer and artist. The character's at a very big transitional point when he leaves the book, and the next team takes it on. But again, it's still so true to Peter, where they didn't have to reboot, relaunch, completely turn the character. It's like sometimes you get to a character, it's like I don't even recognize him anymore. This is still very honorable to Stan's original Peter, I feel.
Yeah, no, very, very much so. Even when they introduced a new look for the character in the 80s, that's still Spider-Man. It still works.
It did. It really did. And I remember as a kid, I just figured Spider-Man wore two different suits. I didn't think anything of it. I completely recognized Spider-Man in the black suit, Spider-Man in the red and blue suit. I was okay with it. I didn't mind him having two.
Me either. Not
options.
At all. And I love both. It's really hard for me to choose. I probably like the black one more. But it's hard because it's one's a classic, but the other one is also just so freaking cool. You normally theme your choices. This is my question for you, right? You normally theme your choices. Did you theme your choices tonight?
I did. I themed it in a way, not so much as far as like theme, more of I chose 5 different creators.
Right.
Because it could have very easily been Roger Stern, all 5. It could have very easily been the most obvious of. Exactly. There was a lot to choose, and you could have really shown like, oh, you're clearly a Tom DeFalco, Ron Friends fan type of thing. So I didn't want to make it too heavy in one section.
Yeah.
But it was hard, but at the same time very easy because there's so much good stuff. And this was the time, along with I think the X-Men, where Marvel was starting to now have extra titles associated with hit books. So you had Spectacular for a while now. Some of the stuff I was reading, you're getting into like issues 100 of Spectacular. And it's been around for a few years at this point. But then they add Web of Spider-Man as well. So You're getting a lot of Spider-Man story in this decade.
You are. And Marvel Team Up, of course, which Webb replaced.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
So I don't normally
Good
do a
call.
theme, but I've done a theme this time.
Okay, what's your theme?
It's not alphabetical.
It's biographical.
It's autobiographical.
Autobiographical.
I've gone high fidelity on your ass. You're right. You're having a moment.
I got a half chub. Yeah.
In England, we call it half a tea cake.
I love a good high fidelity reference. That's great.
Hell
well,
yeah.
Last week I remember saying you're gonna go first this week. Do you still want to go first? Do you want the last pick?
I'll gladly go first. Yeah, I'll gladly go if you're
Go
cool
for
with
it.
it. All right. Thank you. So my first tonight, my first choice of five stories, Spider-Man stories that really defined my life as a reader, as well as just recommendations. It's so hard to be subjective sometimes. You know, sometimes people expect certain stories or titles or one-off story, you know, events on a list. I'm going to do the stuff that really, really hit me. It's funny, I was just looking at in the comments, Omega Bread said there was a Darkness to Spider-Man title throughout the 80s that just wasn't there prior, apart from maybe the Gweth of Den Spacey, the death of Kevin Spacey. And then goes on to list a few, some of which may come up, so I'm not going to go into those. But my first choice tonight, sir, is... Something went wrong. Bear with me. Now, it is... I don't have it in print at the moment, but it's this little gem. It's Amazing Spider-Man 316. Can you see that? I should turn the brightness down.
I could see that. No, that's okay.
What an incredible
That came out
cover.
in the 80s.
That was
For some reason,
1989.
fantastic.
Now-
Yeah, I reminded myself of how far into the 80s McFarlane was on the book, because you always associate him with 90s.
Yeah,
art,
because they, especially
right?
when
Art
they
of the
launched
90s.
the Spider-Man solo, just Spider-Man title, 1990.
Right.
And then, of course, he was big because
Right.
of Spawn. So, yeah, a lot
Right.
of people do, and rightly so, associate him with the 90s. But, yeah, this...
Yeah.
So, this one, when I was 12 years old, some relatives came to stay with my parents, and they gave me a little bit of cash. Go buy yourself something nice. And I got a tenner, and... I didn't tend to just immediately spend stuff like my sister did, and I just had this tenner floating. And I walked into this news agent, and I looked down at the comics at the bottom. The only regular comics I was buying at that point, I think, were Marvel UK's Transformers, Death's Head, Dragon's Claws. It's like all Marvel UK stuff. You know, I didn't have access to American comics. I knew they were originally in America, printed in America, and then we sometimes had versions of them printed in the UK. This was the first time I saw an American comic book. It was the right size. It was they looked tiny compared to the Marvel UK ones. The Marvel UK ones were huge, the magazine size. But this was the first cover as well. Now, I recognized that costume from the Secret Wars series that was reprinted by Marvel UK. But it was the black costume with teeth. I'm like, what is that? I have to have it. And of course, Spider-Man just looks bollocksed on the front. Like he's on his back. There's what appears to be blood coming out of or all over Venom's hand. He's not got fangs as such yet. Has he? Did he have? No, that's when the teeth started to get pointier. This thing looks scary. And even the first page when you open it, it's Venom chasing some dude in the sewer, you know? And the title's Dead Meat. Like, that's just perfect for a 12-year-old kid going like, what is this? And I'm getting into my dark zone as a child. I was massively into just twisted, weird, dark things, but I could never really find stuff that resonated with me. This was perfect. It was the first American comic I found. I bought all the other 19 titles. They were 50p each. I bought 20 comics, that being the one that drew me into it. This is the comic that started my obsession. This is where it truly began. So
That's cool.
It's by David Michelinie, Todd McFarlane, and colored by Bob Sharon. It came out in 1989. Now, Venom escapes the vault in Amazing Spider-Man 315, so you can read that one first, but this is really a two-parter from issue 316 and 317, and it's Venom's return. So he'd made his debut in 300, but this is round 2. That's quite a wait for round 2. You know, that's over a year between those stories. So
he was terrifying.
He was absolutely terrifying, and I loved it. And that art was incredible. Like, McFarlane's art was just insane, and it was nothing like I'd ever seen in any of the comics I'd read. And then Black Cat turns up in the first part, and that blew, well, my mind, among other things. And it was amazing. I just thought she was incredibly cool, and just immediately was fascinated with that character. And she gets a rough ride in that story. She's not even in it for long, and it's not pleasant. It's a great story. It's incredibly dark. You get a cameo from the Thing, who was going through his pineapple phase. Just and Aunt May's threatened. This guy knows who Peter Parker is. He knows Peter Parker and Spider-Man are one and the same, because he's got that black costume, the symbiote costume from the Secret Wars. That, you know, they share that knowledge. I didn't 100% know what was going on. This is back in the time when they weren't relaunching number ones all the time. I had to figure out what was going on. They gave you a little bit of recap in the story, and then we're into it, and it's just so much fun. And like I say, that sold me on comics. So, Amazing Spider-Man 316, 317, jump back in time, read those stories. They are fun. They're not necessarily the quickest read sometimes. They can be a little verbose, but I think David Michelinie hits the right amount of dialogue in those books.
Yeah. Nice pick.
Thank you.
That's a good one. Good way to start. All right.
Cheers.
Always good to go with a Venom story with Spidey if you can.
Yeah.
Right?
Before they overuse the guy.
I might have had one. Oh. Yeah, exactly. It's so true. But man, even going back and reading those issues, it's legitimately scary, because you knew that symbiote had a vendetta against Peter. Like, it really wanted to consume him, and to know that it took over somebody else to get back at him. It's like, I need you so we can go. We're mad at this guy.
Yeah.
So
he's the perfect
with all the
opposite
information,
number, isn't he? He is basically Dark Spider-Man. I think in many ways he's really the first real Dark Spider-Man character, the first flip side character, really. You know? Yeah, for sure. It was for him. Yeah, great character. Nice pick, Dave. All right. I'm going to do something somewhat autobiographical as well. Ooh. I'm going to try to do mine chronologically, if I can. So the first one I'm picking is a Amazing Spider-Man issue 224, Let Aged Wings Fly. It's a Vulture story. Roger Stern, John Romita Jr., and I had read this issue so many times as a kid because it was reprinted in a Spider-Man magazine that I had bought at a bookstore. And the reason I picked the magazine was because it had a lot more page count, and it seemed to have like a bunch of different stories from different eras. Some were drawn by Steve Ditko. Some were, I didn't realize who any of these people really were, but I felt like, okay, I'm getting a little bit of Spider-Man from a bunch of different times, which was really cool. But nice. It included the Fool Killer story, as well as the next issue, which was the Vulture one in 224. And I didn't realize that those magazines were collecting 2 issues at a time of the Roger Stern run, reprinting them, and then adding some other things to it. But this was the one that I had. I read it a bunch. I don't know why I enjoyed that art the way that I did. I felt like it was definitive classic Spider-Man, like it was of a in-between era of the old and what would go on to be like that McFarlane stuff. But I had a preference for this for some reason. And I really enjoyed, as hokey as it was in some points. So the premise of the story is Aunt May, and she's at a nursing home, and it's like a rec home for old age folks. And Nathan Lubinsky is introduced. I don't know if he's introduced in this issue, but he's in the issue. And one of the people that is in the old age home with him is Adrian Toomes, who is the Vulture. Right.
And he finds some cockamamie way to piece together some tech that's been destroyed and left on the floor, and he finds a way to make his wings. It is such a funny scene where he has his bathrobe on, and then because it's got long sleeves, and he makes, I guess, a makeshift version of his technology that helps him fly. He escapes the old age home or whatever it is that he's been, wherever he is. He's on to his next heist. But the scenes of him, Spider-Man in action, are so much fun. The way John Romita lays it out, and I just also remember some of the splash pages in it where Spider-Man's on his phone in his apartment. He's still in college. He's single, and he's excited that he's resewn the webbing on his suit
Oh
to
yeah.
match like his classic
What
outfit.
the armpit
Yeah,
bits?
the armpit bits. And
Ah.
they make it like a thing. He's like, you know what? I'm really happy that I added this back to my suit the way it used to be. So it's like a little, a tip of the hat. Like I was saying, Roger Stern gives a tip of the hat to the classic. It says, we're going to move forward, but we're not going to forget what's been done. So it's if you love Spider-Man, I feel like the Roger Stern stuff will really hit home. But it's just a feel-good issue. I wouldn't say it's the best of the Roger Stern stuff, but
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't, because it's near the beginning of his run on Amazing. He had been on Spectacular prior to.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he
Yep.
had a run on Spectacular as well. So some of the things he does in Spectacular Spider-Man feed into what takes place in Amazing, but he had a soft spot for the Vulture. I heard him on podcasts in the past where he just really liked that character and wanted to use him in a way that made him, gave him a little bit more weightiness as a villain. Like he could be a real problem for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he kind of showcased it in his run a couple times.
He did a couple of times. Funnily enough, I was going to choose the second time that the Vulture appeared in his run, partly because, but I needed to reread it. I haven't read it in so long. That cover for issue 241, where he's in the dark and his wings are up, and Spider-Man's light is shining on him, and it's one of my favorite covers of all time.
John Romita, man,
love it. Yeah, he nails it, and it's just perfect, isn't it? John Romita Jr. like very much continuing the feel of his dad's work from the 60s,
right?
But feeling more modern. So it kind of had that nice, happy. I think that was a really happy medium, and that was some of J.R. Jr.'s best.
I feel so, yeah. For myself, I love that era of JR. So I'll start there with a oldie but a goodie, Amazing Spider-Man 224. You can find it in a bunch of different places, but the best place is this, Omni. This is the one I was referring to you before. This is the one we can't part ways with this. This is just an amazing collection. Excuse me. A lot of great storylines. Even, I mean, we could get into it as we go on, but with characters that were relatively new or brand new characters, man, some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
You probably have it listed. Dave, take it away.
Somewhere. Actually, funnily enough, before I carry on with the next one, because I don't think any of my choices fall into this, and just in case neither of our choices fall into it, there is a Spider-Man reading order from 1984, I think it's to 1985, on the Omniverse Comics Guide. Cool. So that's a 2-year, that covers 2 years. I think, or does it cover 3? It might be 86. I will double check. But it's the Secret Wars, the year of Secret Wars upwards. So you get just before the Secret Wars, and then the first period of time of him in his alien costume. So yeah, if you do want a reading order for a particular place, that's a really nice place to start reading Spider-Man. But I do want to do the ones that fit before and after, obviously, which I'm getting to. I'm going to start getting to that this year.
Nice. That's cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
I'm going to choose for my second tonight one of the most obvious choices. And I was going to do it last, but I where I'm doing this autobiographically, it was a story I read early on, but not so early. Because I think when we've talked about this story previously, we've always said, as great a Spider-Man story as this is, don't read it first, because it's not your standard Spider-Man. And it's originally it was called Fearful Symmetry. It's now predominantly known as Kraven's Last Hunt. It covers Web of Spider-Man 31 to 32, Amazing Spider-Man 293 to 294, and Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man 131 to 132. That incredibly long title, Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man. They just feel like how long they could make it. Who knows?
Should have put his address there too.
Said about a what?
His address. Add his address. Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man.
43 Acacia Road.
Yeah.
So it came out in 1987. Now, when you think like 12, 13 years earlier, they changed the comic code to allow for certain kinds of crime stories and to allow for horror stories. And certain topics were back on the table. And then just over a decade later, we get one of the darkest Spider-Man stories we'll ever see. Like, it's incredibly dark. It's psychological. It's all about one of his lamest villains. Let's face it. Craven was kind of a bit of an odd character. His whole shtick is that he was going to hunt Spider-Man, and he never managed to capture him successfully. But in this story, it opens up with him shooting Spider-Man. Spider-Man's dead. So Craven doesn't just kill Spider-Man and bury him. He takes his place, and he becomes the new Spider-Man. And it just gets darker and weirder from there. The streets are being terrorized by a character who writer James DeMatteis is a huge, huge fan of. I think he created him, actually. Vermin, who comes up in a lot of his Spidey stories.
Yeah.
So he's kind of the villain of the piece on top, because like that's who Craven's hunting now as Spider-Man. He doesn't have any webbing, and he's just dressed in the black costume, running about. He gets spotted by his new wife, Mary Jane, who realizes that's not Spider-Man. I don't want to say too much more than that, but it's, as an ending, it's incredibly dark. And when you think about the fact that this was a kid's comic, for all intents and purposes. This is a kid's comic, and the theme of this comic is so dark and so stark. You know, it's not a cheery ending at all.
No.
And things also. This was a time when these kind of things happen. This stayed that way until it was 2010, when we saw Craven again. So this had lasting ramifications, and loads of other stories spin out of it. In fact, if you've read the story, I recommend just reading the story. The reading order is very, very simple. You can find the reading order on Omniverse Comics Guide, but also the Fallout section will tell you the other stories that it influenced. So go and have a look at that, but don't read the guide. I've written a guide, but don't read it. Go read the story. It's one of the greatest Spider-Man stories you'll read, but hopefully you've read some other Spidey stories first. This is an absolute gem, and I think even though it's coming up for nearly 40 years old now, so it came out in 1987, it's aged incredibly well. Really, really well. Yeah. By James DeMatteis, the art's by Mike Zeck, who he defined Spider-Man for me. He was my first Spider-Man artist, not counting all the various Spider-Man cartoons I used to watch as a kid. But I found this book in trade paperback format quite early on. So after I'd started reading single issues, Marvel really started pushing trade paperbacks and collected editions. But not massively, not the way they do today, but all those key stories were collected. And I picked this up in hardback format, and it was on the front cover of Spider-Man upside down, like on a window, so you can see that his fingers are pressed on the glass and the rain is running down through where his fingers are placed. And it was just such a simple cover, but an incredibly cool cover. And I've loved this story from day one, and I will love it for all time. And if you think like, it's 80s though, I mean, there's been a lot of stories since, go back and read it. It's timeless. But prepare yourself, because it's dark.
It's an example of just good comics, regardless of the character. Because I wasn't sure. I remember in one of my chats with him if it had been originally pitched as a Batman story.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, he pitched it as a Batman story. And I think, did they say it was too dark for that? Like, how did it? Oh, they just rejected it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why. So I don't want to come to a conclusion, but I remember that it was a repurposed, in a way, story, and he found a way to make this really apply and affect Peter profoundly, as a story like that would.
Yeah.
But like you said, it had, it's interesting that not to take anything away from what came, but the hindsight being 2020, this story at the time it had to have made waves. Like
I believe
just the
it
covers
did.
alone,
Yeah.
just the covers alone were spectacular. I'm surprised they didn't put Zek and JMD on Amazing.
I think
To
it was
follow.
meant to run as a story in one title, and then they changed it to a crossover. But maybe that was all he wanted to do at that point. I don't know. I don't know what the reason for them not staying on was. I mean, Zek didn't tend to do... hadn't done monthly titles really in a long time. He was mostly doing miniseries like The Punisher and Secret Wars, and
That's true.
so
I know he had a run with JMD on Cap for a while.
He did.
They had
Again,
been
that's
previous
early
collaborators.
80s,
yeah,
he was on. That's true. Yeah, they did work together on there, and also, I mean, he did that lengthy run of Fu Manchu on Master of Kung Fu as well.
right,
So he did do
yeah.
his fair runs at one point in time, but he tended to do shorter runs by the late 80s.
That would have been an interesting Spider-Man run,
wouldn't it though?
Zek and JMD.
Can you imagine? So, I mean, you can, of all the places you can get it, the deluxe edition not only collects the story but also collects a lot of related stories, including Vermin's first appearance from Marvel Team Up 128, and also the Amazing Spider-Man Soul of the Hunter one shot, which deals with what happens with Kraven's soul, and as the creative team come back and they tell that story. So this is well worth a pickup. But I mean, even if you pick it up just for those 6 issues, treat yourself. Treat yourself.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. Okay. My number 2. I might not end up going in chronological order because I'm going to jump up a bunch of issues. I'm going from 224 and I'm going to end up in the 250s for my next pick.
Ooh.
And that's going to be the Tom DeFalco, Ron Frenz era, issue 258.
Oh,
I love the cover of this issue. I'll show you where I have it collected for my collection, because this is included now in the Alien Costume Saga Omnibus.
Yeah.
These issues, but it hasn't been released in any epics yet. And the way that the epics look like they've been mapped out so far, this is going to collect a portion of, I don't know how they'll map it, but there's a whole section of Spider-Man that has been collected, except for here.
Oh my God, I had that. I had that trade paperback.
I found this a few years ago at a comic shop, and I was just like, whoa, what's this? And I wasn't, and then I looked at the creative team, and at the back they have the covers. This was a kind of rare thing back then.
Yeah.
They didn't make too many of these.
No.
So the issue that I've picked is this one right here.
That cover is incredible.
That cover's so cool. I remember them including it in the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s.
Ah, what they did a scene that
I remember.
Yeah.
They did a scene where they had that cover, that moment. So I'm like, wow, that's the cover that influenced that. So that's really cool. I love this era of Spider-Man as a whole. The Friends DeFalco era is a lot of fun. Great way to continue or build off of what Roger Stern had done. It doesn't feel like too jarring and shocking. It still it flows very nicely and complementary to each other. But this is a great issue because it not only gets into the psychological aspect of what the symbiote costume is doing to Peter. It finds him at the crux of his life where this lucky son of a bitch is deciding between Mary Jane and Black Cat, right? With all the problem Peter has.
And he made the wrong choice.
Yeah. The one problem he doesn't seem to have is the ladies department.
Yeah.
He also has those blonde bombshells that live on the top penthouse of his Chelsea apartment who like to sunbathe all the time and ask him for company. There's a moment where he's asked to stay. Can you keep me company while the sun goes down? And then the next scene is 45 minutes later, he goes swinging as Spider-Man. I'm like, gee, I wonder what happened to those 45 minutes, Pete.
Is that all? Is that all, Pete?
But getting back to the
times.
symbiote, it's him realizing that this thing is really starting to affect him completely. It's consuming him, and it's alive. So it's the famous issue where he goes to the Baxter building and asks for the help from the Fantastic Four to figure out what this thing that came from Secret Wars with them, because they were there, they know where it's from. And of course, Reed Richards is very excited to do some experiments, and I just like to study that a little bit more. So you find out that what its weakness potentially is, and it is the one time that Spider-Man wears a very interesting costume that is sometimes cosplayed at Comic Cons and such.
And you get to play him on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in that costume. Like,
that's so
Pro
cool.
Skater 3 or 4, I can't remember, but you get to play as that version of him.
That's cool. And it's also included in the Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man video game for PlayStation.
Oh, maybe I was thinking of that. I don't know. But yeah.
It's included there too.
Right.
But either way, it's that perfect blend of the seriousness, the drama, and the humor that comes along with a Spider-Man story. Like, there's some genuine funny moments here, but there's also some genuine soap opera drama, as well as the horror aspect of this suit being alive and tormenting him. So it checks off all the boxes. It's got a great cover. I love Friends in the Falco run as much as, any other part of the 80s. So
you made an observation, though, about Friends and his art style recently that I never picked up on.
Yeah, he had mentioned it in a podcast where he said that did he say, I could be misquoting, but he said that he wanted to do a little bit of a Steve Ditko version. Everybody had kind of been going along with the Romita kind of style of Pete. And not that he completely ignored that, but his Peter and his characters have that little bit more lankiness to them, even the way they wear their clothes and just the way he draws his Spider-Man. It's got a little bit more of a Ditko feel to it, because he just said that was the best Spider-Man artist of all time in his opinion. So if I'm not misquoting him. But yeah, I noticed that, and it's cool because it doesn't come off as it's more of an homage, like a tip of the hat, kind of like when he did Thor. He drew Thor in a more Kirby-esque style.
Yeah, very much so.
Right? And it was inked that way as well.
It's still Friends.
Yeah,
it's still run Friends.
Yeah, it's still him, but he finds a way
matches that style. That's kind of pays tribute, but kind of feels slightly more modern.
It's right. It's true. He does a really good job of finding a way to. We're both trying to. He finds that he's great at making you feel that this is very much, in essence, he follows even when he did Superman with Roger Stern on some annuals, he drew the Cadmus and the newspaper boys.
Newsboy Legion?
Their name, Newsboy Legion, thank you. He drew them again in that kind of a Kirby-esque style, because Kirby was the guy who introduced those characters, so it felt like you were reading a comic from that sort of aesthetic. But anyways, 258, a lot of fun. You can collect it in the omnibus now, the Alien Costume saga.
Yeah,
I know they had some trades before.
They had two trades.
Nice trades that I did not
so
pick up.
The book you had was just the Amazing Spider-Man run, I think, wasn't it? But in those two trades, it was all the Web and Marvel Team Up and Spectacular Spider-Man issues, and then the omnibus collected both into one book.
What did you think of that era of Spec, like the other stuff that's collected in that Omni?
Some of the Marvel Team Up issues are fun. Like the final issue is a team up with the X-Men versus the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. That's quite a good fun issue. And then it goes to Web, and there's some fun issues in Web, but then it starts to kind of lose, like, what are we doing? What's different about this book compared to the other two books? And they didn't know, and they couldn't figure out what to do with it. So it took a while for it to then find its feet, like quite a while. Spec had Al Milgrom. I can't remember who was writing it, but Al Milgrom was drawing it, and I'm not a fan of his art.
I was thinking it was Bill Mantlo.
It might have been, yeah, maybe. I mean, they definitely started together, I think. I don't know how long he stayed on. But it's not a good-looking book.
Yeah, I was so
looking.
close to pulling the trigger on buying it, because I want to have all of that stuff collected.
Still would.
From that.
And I did.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it, because again, I'm a sucker for the nostalgia of it all and having it all in one place. Like you got everything. Does it go in the Omni? Does it go in chronological order, or does it do it in chunks? Like here are the
I
spectacular Spider-Man.
believe
He's
it does it
amazing.
in as close to chronological order as you can get without splitting pages. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you do want to know how the pages split, look at the Spider-Man reading order, 1984 to 19... Alien Costume Saga.
Very nice. Very nice. All right,
Woohoo!
Dave, you're number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 in our top 10 80s Spider-Man comics episode is in this X-Men omnibus. Oh, that's right, kids.
What?
Oh, it's Marvel Fanfare numbers 1 to 2. They've recently, I think they're about to release the Marvel Fanfare Omnibus, aren't they? But the first 2 issues, there are 2 stories in most issues, I think. Some of them have 3 later on, but I think for the most part they have 2 stories. This one has a 2-parter. It's written by Chris Claremont. The art is by Michael Golden. All the art. He does the pencils, inks, and colours. His art looks incredible. It's almost like Claremont's just gone, so what do you want to draw? And he's gone, I want dinosaurs. I want to mutate some of the characters. Here's a little clue as to what happens. Quite a big clue, actually. But yeah, that is one of my first Spider-Man figures I got as an adult. And it's because I got this story. And again, it was from a trade paperback. So years after the issues came out, they released this book as X-Men Savage Land. And it was the X-Men stories from the first 4 issues of Marvel Fanfare. So in this one, it's Spider-Man and the Angel teaming up. And Spider-Man Peter Parker is sent as photographer to the Savage Land, where this lady is very intent on getting her boyfriend back, and it's Carl Lycos, who is Sauron, who's an X-Men villain who was lost to the Savage Land some time ago. So she's looking out for him. She convinces Angel to take her to the Savage Land for this expedition to find him. And so if you don't know, the Savage Land is a place in the Marvel Universe where the prehistoric times are still continuing. So there's lots of the full people who are kind of like cave people. Kazar is a modern man living there as a sort of Tarzan type English guy living in the jungle with a pet saber-toothed tiger. He's also in the story. It's one of the most random elements of the Marvel Universe. So yeah, there's a place in the Marvel Universe, right, where dinosaurs are sitting around. Really? Yeah, why not? So it's a very odd thing. But yes, this is a really cool story. And when they get to the end of issue 1, there's a big change for Angel and Spider-Man. I think it's a bit of a screw it moment for Peter Parker, where he's kind of like, he's just given up on trying to hide his secret identity. It's very clear to everyone present. He's Spider-Man, mate. You know, he's Spider-Man. But yeah, they track down the villains, and the villains in it are Zaladane, who is Lorna Dane's evil sister, and the Savage Land mutates, who are always a bit sort of oddball villains. You know, it's like, what's their shtick? Do they just kind of hang around there and wait for a really bad guy to come and lead them into doing something? How does this work? And they've built this machine. Like, what are they going to... Are we going to reverse people's evolution? Like, why? And it doesn't matter. It wasn't... It's not even until now. I read this again for, like, what, the 5th, 6th, 7th time the other day. And it's only now that I'm going, but why were they doing it? I don't honestly have an answer. But it doesn't matter because it's just such a fun story.
Matter.
So it's 2 issues and it's shit beans. Sorry, it's I caught Miss Spidey on something. You don't want to do that. It's 2 issues. It's beautifully illustrated by Michael Golden. He was doing hyper detailed stuff before a lot of other people were doing hyper detail. He's like pre Arthur Adams. He's definitely pre-Todd McFarlane, and he was a big influence on a lot of those creators. His art style is something else, especially on this title. So the Marvel Fanfare, I believe, was released in a prestige format, so it had nicer paper, so they could print these very nice, high-quality images, whereas comics otherwise were on newsstand print, and it was not the best print quality. So this allowed us to really see what his art looked like. It was released in 1982, and again, despite the fact that is quite a long time ago now, 43 years, still great. still stands. It's still goddamn fun, and it's just a great little Spider-Man outing, and it's one that most people miss because it was in Marvel Fanfare and not in the main titles.
So it's a hidden gem.
It's a hidden
nice.
shit. Should have saved it.
Should have saved it. Very nice. Nice picks.
Thanks.
Nice picks. I like it. And we got everyone in the chats are saying that they're sold because they're looking up Golden's art. Omega Bread said, just looked it up and the art is gorgeous. Shower me with all the golden goodness. So there you go.
That's filth.
It's no dual power bomb, BC Scrub says, but it's a hidden gem.
Shower me with the golden goodness.
It's good. It's good. Since you're cracking up and snorting, are we ready for a commercial break?
Oh, let's do commercial break. Okay. Why don't we hold hands and take a stroll through the lanes of what's old to the Omniverse? So, on the YouTube channel, these are our top 5 most watched videos. Number 5, Top 10 Ed Brubaker, again, was number 5 last month as well. Number 4, Collector's Item Special with Xander Cannon. Yay! Bias.
Yes.
Number 3, Comic Book Speakeasy, breaking down Crisis on Infinite Earths. Numero 2, it's the new manga spotlight, What is Love, featuring our guest dude, Mr. Meat Trunks himself, Raf Cascarino. And at number 1, the top 10 Image comics of all time.
It's doing pretty good.
It's doing real
People are
good.
enjoying that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think some people
Very
want to see
cool.
some stuff that's not big too.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, this is the Omniverse. You might find it here.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Anything else, Dave?
No.
All right.
Whenever you ask me
All
that
right.
and I do that, I cut it exactly the same way when I do the edit. That's when music just comes in normally. No.
All right, back to our countdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you, sir.
I haven't picked any story arcs with
I
this
know.
one. I'm usually
so far you're on one-off issues, which is nice, though.
usually
I
I'm
like it.
So my first pick is the entire Roger Stern omnibus. So Dave, you can't pick any.
Shit.
I'm going to pick something.
Yeah.
From
It's good to pick something.
epic collection. That is the Ghosts of the Past. This is the mostly Ron Friends and DeFalco stuff, but included. What I like about these epics is that they include the stories you need to read along with what's going on. So in this one, we've got a couple of annuals, which are really nice.
Yeah.
Web of Spider-Man #1.
Oh, yeah.
And issues 259 to 272. So this picks up where this trade leaves off.
Yeah, very much
This one
so.
picks up directly from it. Or if you have the Alien Saga, Alien Costume Saga, this would be the next group of issues to read. But the one I'm picking
overlaps
here
a bit.
is not a little bit.
A little bit.
It does overlap a little bit. You're correct. Yes. So you will have doubles, but you'll be completely buttoned up. With that being said, my pick is from issue 267 of Amazing Spider-Man. It's a Peter David story with Bob McLeod on art. The Commuter Cometh.
Oh.
This is another classic cover for I think, like when you see it, it's like I know that story or I know that issue. And what's fun about it again is it's the humorous side of the Peter Parker character of the Spider-Man stories where he goes in, he finds himself being a little bit overzealous trying to stop a criminal, a thief, where he tracks him all the way into the suburbs. And of course, what ensues is a lot of humorous hijinks because Spider-Man is very much, what you realize is Spider-Man is very much a character who needs to be in a city.
Yeah.
If he's not in a city, he's a little ineffectual.
Trust
And this
Peter
story
David to come
really-
up with this idea.
Yeah, and it's such a unique story because it's like, yeah, that would kind of be what would happen. And it was what's the word? I'm trying not I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but it was adapted a little bit in the Homecoming movie, where Spider-Man finds himself at a few, or Peter finds himself at a few parties in the suburbs, and he changes into a spider outfit, realizing there's nothing for him to swing from,
Uh-huh.
and
Good
he looks
shout.
like a real goofball. Yeah. So this issue is the one that inspired that whole sequence in the movie of Peter being in the suburbs trying to be Spider-Man and being a total loser about it. Not a loser, but out of his depth.
Yeah.
Right? You're not Spider-Man here.
Uh-huh.
There's just trees and a few houses, and you do not belong, sir. And the neighborhood, you are not friendly to this neighborhood, right?
You do
So
not belong, sir.
you do not belong here, sir. But nonetheless, it's a fun issue. It's true to the character of Spider-Man and his world, but it is a bit more on the lighter side. So
Yeah.
check it out. It's a good one from the 80s. Peter David. I mean,
Peter
there's a couple of
David,
stories
man.
that Peter David Spider-Man could have been on this list, but
Yeah.
I might save those for a Peter David episode.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, good
So
point.
I thought this was a cool one to throw in there because it comes in between as like a bit of a filler.
It is,
Imagine
but
having Peter David as a filler issue.
nuts, isn't it? That cover, by the way, was
It's a
by
great
Mark
story.
D. Bright. I thought it was Charles Vess, but it wasn't. In my head for years, it was Charles Vess.
Okay.
But it's Mark Bright who did that cover. I love that cover.
Great cover.
Yeah.
I love it too.
Yeah. It's a really good. That's a great pick.
It throws you off too because the cover looks like, oh, this is gonna be like super and it is, but it looks a lot more serious than
Yeah, it
where
does,
you end
doesn't it?
up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's such a good shout.
That's my
Well done. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Envious. Okay.
We will be doing a Peter David top 10.
We will
DC
be.
Scrubs in the comments.
However, in the meantime, I am going to pick a Peter David story. And again,
Yeah,
this
do
was
it.
part of my growing up and getting into Spider-Man thing back in those trades in the day. So the trade paperbacks were great for getting into those old stories and finding the key stories where Spider-Man was really impacted by stuff. And he's saying what was Spectacular Spider-Man like, what was Web like. After Milgram left, Peter David took over Spectacular Spider-Man. But it was still quite an overlooked title. Now, this story was written by him, as obviously, as I have said so. It's drawn by Rich Buckler. The art is, the ink's Brett Breeding, colours are Bob Sharon. Bob Sharon seems to cover pretty much every Spider-Man story from the 80s as well, which is nuts. It's Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, 107 to 110. Now, I didn't get the significance of this when I first read it. So from an autobiographical point of view, so I read it going like, yeah, this is a good story. But I didn't really realise the impact because actually it affects one of his support cast from Marvel Team Up. And I didn't get hold of those issues till after that. I got hold of quite a few issues of Marvel Team Up. And one of the support characters in there was a police officer called Jean DeWolf. This story opens up it's quite a grim one. This is a very serious Spider-Man story. And for Peter David, that's rare. Yeah, when he does a serious story, he does somehow nail it. Because half the reason is you're not expecting it to be what it is. But this is another dark and grim one. It's the villain is the Sin Eater. He's not actually powered. It's based on the Son of Sam to a degree. So he is. It was around the same time as the Scourge of the Underworld stuff as well, and there's a bit of a crossover there too. Not literal crossover, but thematically. So he's going around and killing people he doesn't feel are bringing people to justice or obstructing justice, and Spider-Man's trying to get hold of this guy who's just going around with a shotgun murdering people. This also is a big turning point for Peter Parker and his relationship with Matt Murdock. So this is the period of time when their identities become clear to each other. I was trying to say it without spoiling it, and like you can't. This is when they do find out, who each other really are.
Yeah,
which is
that's
quite
an important relationship.
really key relationship. Yeah, because it does change their relationship from this point going forward.
Yeah.
It's a great story. Like I say, it's surprisingly dark for a Spider-Man story, not on the same level that Kraven's Last Hunt is, but it's still quite gritty, street level. It's not really about superpowers in terms of his foes. It's just about stopping this person who is literally like at one point even shooting into crowds, and no, it's the gun issue really, but they don't paint it as the gun issue, the gun control problem issue storyline. It's done really well and really subtly, and it's incredibly well played. But I think if you've been reading Spider-Man for quite a long time, this was probably a shocking moment. Those opening couple of pages when it's very unceremoniously took out one of his support characters. Not a big build-up, not a warning on the cover. Well, I think there was sort of a warning on the cover, because it's quite a bland cover, though, to be fair. It's Spider-Man just swinging at you on the front cover, and I think it's got some big word balloons. But not what you're expecting from this story. And it's a shocker. In a good way.
It's a good one. It's a key story in Spider-Man's mythology. And, I mean, Peter David...
I'll tell you.
I can only imagine what's been said. But Peter David, I mean, as skilled of a scribe as you'll find in comics.
Yeah.
I feel.
Well, this is really early in his career, too. So it's literally after he'd just left journalism and he'd started writing comics. Omega Red rightly says, great story. It dives straight in with no kissing, which, yeah, that's a pretty fair summary. It's rough.
Yeah. No, it's a big one. I almost thought about including it, but I was like, I'll probably reread that for a later time.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it because it's pretty much like, hey, this is a must read of. I'm happy the ones you're picking. I'm really happy with Kraven's Last Hunt and with this one because I purposely didn't pick these myself, but I'm happy that you did. I'm happy they're included. That's so
Thanks,
good.
Man.
And even the Venom one, that's a great pick too. The first Venom one you did. Okay, what are we on now? 4?
Yeah,
right.
You're 4.
I'm switching books from Amazing, and I'm going over to Spectacular.
Ooh.
Hot take. This is a hot take from me. Amazing was appropriately titled. It was an amazing book during the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the Michelini and McFarlane stuff, and it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Artistically. I just didn't feel the story was as strong in the Amazing books as they were in Spectacular. Specifically, I'm talking just after Peter David does the sequel to Death of Jean DeWolf with the Sin Eater story.
With the what?
Jerry Conway comes with the Sin Eater story.
Oh, the Sin Eater. Oh, right, yeah, sorry. It cut out.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. So, following that story, Jerry Conway and Sal Buscema get onto the book, and I didn't realize how much Spectacular Spider-Man Sal Buscema had drawn.
Yeah,
he was on that book for quite a while.
Yeah, he really was.
And at this point, I really appreciated his artwork and his art style of pacing the story, and instead of it being so much of a like the design that Todd McFarlane had, which was incredible, this was very story driven, and the issues I'm talking about are collected here, which unfortunately it came out with Tombstone and then a #1, and they never completed the set, unfortunately, because it's a really, really strong story, fun story. It's got some silliness to it, but also there's the seriousness of Tombstone that he, as a villain, I guess he was the response to a new villain on the Spectacular book. Amazing had Venom, but this guy was a serial killer who was a gun for hire for the mob, and he had it out for Robbie Robertson. They had a history together, and Robbie was legitimately terrified of this guy. It put what I liked about Spectacular is it really started to include all of the characters within the Daily Bugle, and the more personal aspects of Peter's life were really being explored a little bit slower. But that collection specifically, issues 137 to 150, and what also is included there, so this is my big chunk of reading that I would recommend. Also Annual 8.
Okay.
Which is the When Stacy returns.
Evolutionary War tie-in.
Yes, the Evolutionary War issue is tied into this. The one thing that I remember when I had spoken to Jerry Conway about this particular time on Spider-Man was that he was not a fan of having to cross over with Inferno. because he's like, I had a story that I was
You can
doing, and then I
tell.
had to go into Inferno, and I had to write something. And I don't think his stories were bad myself, but
No.
again, it's that thing of I wonder what it would have been like if he would just been if writers would have been just left alone. But either
Yeah.
way, this this run of Jerry Conway's Spider-Man storytelling, because of course he's famously known for taking over the mantle after Stan left and death of Jean Grey and et cetera, many characters he created. But this one, so Punisher is heavily featured.
Yeah.
The tarantula makes an appearance
Yeah.
for a storyline, which was very interesting. It was about deporting immigrants. Funny
Ah.
enough, which is very
Now it's
on
topical.
point, very topical. And again the drama between Robbie and Tombstone, who he affects Robbie's life quite significantly
He does.
in this book,
Yes.
which is yeah, I don't want to give anything away. Just and the way this trade ends, it's real cliffhanger. And I wish they would have picked it up and collected it somehow. So I'm
Maybe.
hoping that this is collected
It's not that long ago it
somewhere.
came out, though, was it? That trade?
It's been a couple years.
Was it?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any commitment to putting out, and
I think
I'm
it's
not
because
sure
they're
why
switching to
Tombstone.
Epics. Maybe.
Epics were around,
They were,
but
yeah.
you're right. Spectacular wasn't included back then.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That
that's
is
my
a
pick.
really interesting choice.
I really enjoyed rereading it. It was probably some of my favorite stuff of that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Spectacular Spider-Man run from when Jerry Conway comes on to when JMD takes over. It's a great time for the book, story-wise.
They should.
And I love the
it
art.
ties in very. It starts to tie in very closely with Webb because he was writing Webb as well at the same time. So there's an ongoing story with
Yeah.
Webb where there's a gang war,
Yeah.
and both titles start to really
Yes.
come closer together. So that probably would be in
Yes.
volume 2.
I
But
hope so.
I think this Tombstone storyline wraps up in issue 156 or 157. So
Probably.
maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they will. You're right though. It's a weird title. It's not something that's necessarily going to make someone pick it up. But
No.
a very interesting choice. Very
Great
interesting.
run. Great run of stories.
Yeah, nice. Oh, well done, man. That's nice.
All right. Bring it on home, Dave. Bring it on
Unexpected.
home.
Okay. I'm gonna give a sort of honorary mention to one storyline, although I don't know if it's on your list, and I really hope it's not, and I'm spoiling it. The Juggernaut. Okay, so if anyone's going, why aren't you mentioning the Juggernaut 2-part story? We have actually talked about it in our Bring on the Bad Guys Spider-Man episode, and as in terms of the theme and it being autobiographical, that would be perfect for this because it actually played a part in how I dealt with a real life bully. But if you want to find out what that story is, go back and watch our Bring on the Bad Guys Spider-Man episode where we look at 10 Spider-Man villains and some of their greatest stories.
Nice.
My actual final choice, though, is, and I will say as well, I was very tempted to go for all annuals tonight just for the novelty of it. But this is an annual. It's Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 15. It's by Denny O'Neil. Written by Denny O'Neil, the art's by Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, colour by Bob Sharon, as always. And it features the Punisher, Spider-Man, and Dr. Octopus in one storyline. And it's quite tongue-in-cheek. I mean, it's the Punisher, so it's got some quite dark elements. But it's all about people vying for the front page. They're vying for the front page headline. At one point, even Peter Parker phones up because I've got the headline for today's edition. So this events happen very, very quickly over the course of 24 hours or less because they're all trying to get in there. What was it like? I think it's the 12th of September 1981. It's dated. So you can see when this came out in the story. But it's a Punisher story, and this is when Punisher he'd made a few appearances elsewhere. I think he made an appearance in Captain America at this point, very briefly. It was a very strange story, that one, and a couple of solo stories in Marvel's those black and white magazine titles. If you are looking for a Punisher reading order as well, we got you. You can jump on and find the first 15 years worth of Punisher stories in order at Omniverse Comics Guide. Now, this one, oh shit! Can you give me one sec? Because it's lost it. My thing keeps forgetting what I've read at the minute. So this is available on the Marvel app. And that's where I've read it, because I'm waiting for a collected edition that's got this. Unless it's in the Roger Stern one. I don't know if it is.
I don't think so.
Anyways, I will find the cover. Open. Thank you. Here is the cover. And this was around the time that Frank Miller was drawing Daredevil, or about to. Yeah, I think this is during his Daredevil run. And there's an issue of Daredevil with Dr. Octopus in it. So it's a character he's drawn before, and was either had or was about to draw the Punisher in a Daredevil storyline too. So this is great stuff. It's a, what, how many pages? Like 40 pages. It's just, and it opens up with like this: J. Jonah Jameson wants to run yet another Spider-Man Threat or Menace front page, even though he's warned that the sales drop every time he does it. I wonder if that was an influence on Amazing Spider-Man 300. Huh? Do you reckon?
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Speaking of, actually, big props to Marvel Man, who mentioned that the Sin Eater story from earlier did influence the debut of Venom. So it's one of the big knock-on effects of that story is Venom's first appearance. Excellent. Thanks for the reminder. I forgot to mention it. Good shout. But yeah, so this starts off with a some kind of magic stage magician making out that he's killed somebody and then he's going to bring them back from death. But the Punisher shoots him, so he can't bring them back. And it's all about them trying to save this person's life. And it's very fast-paced. It looks great. This was some of Miller's strongest artwork. That cover is fantastic. With that, just even like
I've ever read this.
Bold red at the back of it coming through, and that newspaper cover, and it's held by Dr. Octopus' arms, and it's just such a cool cover. And the Punisher shooting at Spider-Man on that smaller image on the front page. It's brilliant. It's brilliant stuff. And this was, there was this point in the 90s when people would go, annuals were crap. And they go, no, in the 90s, annuals were crap. They turned them into just crossover events, like mini, or sometimes massive, like 14-part crossover events. And it was a big expectation on people to have to buy events of that size within the space of a couple of months. And they often weren't very good. But in the 80s, they were quite special. And sometimes you'd get a guest
Spider-Man's
artist
annuals were very good.
There were some brilliant Spider-Man annuals, yeah. And there is a major
some real
key event.
Important issues.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the one I've chosen there. Yep. For his first appearances, major events, major turning points, they mattered. In the 90s, less so. So yeah, go back. If you hit an annual during an 80s run, don't skip it. There's some great stuff in there. And this is a key one. Also, Omega Bread says there's some stuff from Annual 15 in the Stern Omnibus. But I think it might be one of the follow-up stories because there's some weird extra stuff in it at the back. Because I think there are 3 stories. Yeah, it doesn't collect
Annual 15. Yeah, it doesn't have the number 15 annual in it.
What's it got? But
it might be in the back. You're right.
Or it might be this thing where he's talking about who his strongest foes are. I don't know. As if this was like some of the hokey, kooky kind of stuff that they used to put in annuals back in the day. Like, these are the strongest people. These are the second strongest. Yeah. And they're just great pieces to look at. And showing what it was like in Peter Parker's apartment. And then they do these pages like pre-Marvel Handbook where they show where some of the characters first appeared and list some of their appearances and stuff before they'd appeared like 1,000 million times because it was like there were so many books out. Annuals are a lot of fun, but this one is particularly good. And even though it should be just so incredibly dark because the Punisher's in it, it's oddly light and it works very, very well. And it's Denny O'Neil and Frank Miller together on a title. Like, don't skip that.
Dream team.
It is completely.
Team,
yeah. It's a beauty. That's my final one for the night.
Very nice. Honorable mentions. It's important to note, like, we didn't list some obvious ones, and it's not because we don't recognize them as great. The Hobgoblin saga, amazing stuff. The Juggernaut storyline that you mentioned. I had a soft spot as well for the Black Cat storyline that follows, or that preludes that Juggernaut story. It was like a 4-issue or a couple issues with her and Peter, something like that. Good. I enjoyed that a lot. We didn't mention Spider-Man 300. Obviously, Amazing Spider-Man 300 is a key book,
I did think you might But
yeah, I just felt like those books will
people know
come.
those
Well,
books.
we're gonna talk about them down the line, right? I want to throw a couple curveballs and
Yeah.
good reads.
Yeah.
Not that any of those aren't, but my final pick for tonight is controversial, but I think a classic. My fifth creator is going to be Jim Owsley and Mark D. Bright for the Spider-Man Wolverine issue
Oh,
in
lovely.
1987. I know this has some controversy behind it because of what happens to one of the key characters in Spider-Man's world, but it is as a standalone issue, it is a very well-made comic. You've got two of the biggest most popular characters of that time teaming up, I think, for the first time together, like sharing a story specifically made
Uh,
for them.
they've been in Marvel Team Up together, and they a
Okay,
couple of times, but yeah, in
okay.
like the way they did it with the special one shot was very unusual.
Yeah,
You
this
didn't
was a
get that
very
kind of
special
thing.
issue. No, and I remember as a kid, my older cousin who got me into comics, he had this hanging up on a mantle, literally. He said that no one can touch that comic. It's the most important comic I own. So I never read it. I never read it until today. Today was the
Oh,
first time I ever read it. I own the actual hard copy issue, but that's put away in a long box
which
because we're
one though?
not supposed to touch that one.
Because they did it.
The
There was
original.
the original. Because they did a version as well. They
Yeah.
did it as like a bookshelf edition, and I can't remember if it was called
No.
Spider-Man Battles Wolverine or if it was no. It was called Spider-Man versus Wolverine, but it was reprinted on nicer paper. So
Yeah. No. This was
that's
the
what I had. That's
original
when I
one.
first read it. Yeah.
Yeah. I reread it, or I read it for the first time today in the Epic Collection, Craven's Last Hunt. It's collected there, which is really nice
Oh,
that it's
nice.
included in that series because the story feeds into the main storyline that's going on. But
Massively.
this is, yeah, this is Spider-Man and Wolverine in Europe. Peter Parker's on an assignment with Ned Leeds. Um, Wolverine reconnects with an old flame, which is you're learning things about Wolverine's
Yeah.
history
True.
here. Spider-Man is featured in the black suit and in the red and blue suit. It's got everything you want, a good fight battle between the main characters. It's it's a really good comic, well written, beautifully drawn. Check it out.
Yeah.
You won't be disappointed if you are a fan of Spider-Man or Wolverine. It's one of both of their great stories,
Yeah.
I would say.
That's such a good call. Do you know what? I could have included that as part of the autobiographical thing because that had a big impact in
I thought
terms of when
maybe
I
you
was.
would. I thought that's where
I
I thought that's
considered
where we'd
it, but
cross
like,
over.
yeah, I don't know why I didn't in the end. I think I just forgot. It was
Yeah.
on
But
a yeah, it was written it was written somewhere, but I didn't end up choosing it. Don't know why.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to pick with this one.
There
But
is a lot to
maybe we'll do a
pick.
part two.
We could easily do a part 3.
I
There's
like it.
so much
Well,
80s Spider-Man goodness.
yes. I guess we could. I'll share it. But our next episode next week we won't be live, but we're gonna have a guest who's a creator of Spider-Man in the 1980s. He worked on the book, so it is a he. That I'll give away. It isn't Louise Simonson or I'm trying to think of another lady that would have been on the book. Anyways, Joe Duffy. It's not anyone
And
from that.
Nocenti nearly
And
was on my
Nocenti, no,
list,
no, it's not.
but
Yeah.
maybe next time.
Ooh, maybe next time. Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us live on Twitch
Thank you.
and watching us on YouTube and listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We love everybody. Don't forget to visit us at omniversecomics.guide for where we got some reading orders for some of the things that we actually listed today. It'll help you along in your reading. It'll make it more enjoyable, and it'll tell you what to read, what to skip, all that good stuff. And of course, all our podcasts are there.
Truth.
Dave,
Yes.
as always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. And likewise, sir. Oh, and also, you people watching or listening, feel free to drop your favourite 5 that you would have included on your list in the comments. Oh, I remembered this time.
Nice.
I can retire
yes,
now.
We appreciate all your feedback. I love it. Everybody, again, thank you for joining us. We will be back soon. Stay tuned for our interviews coming up. Dave,
Yeah?
kisses to everybody. Love you, buddy.
Thwips right
Talk to you
back,
soon.
dude.
Flip.
See you later, y'all. Thank you.
Bye,
Cheers so
everybody.
much for coming on super early.
I'm off to scratch.
He's such a wrong.